Love music, love Erewash.
This is Erewash Sound.
A very good evening to you. It's Tuesday and you're listening to the Erewash Sound Business Show with myself, Emma Duthie. A big thank you to poor Stacey for holding the fort for me last week. Now tonight we are delving into the world of design and Sally will be in conversation with Darren Mudd. Now Darren is from Ilkeston Web Design. Later in the show, we'll have Sarah coming along with your latest roundup of Erewash business news.
The only show dedicated to Erewash's local businesses.
The Erewash Sound Business Show with the 100 Club Business Directory. Sign up for networking, promotion and discounts for your business at erewashsound.com.
This is Sally from the Erewash Sound Business Show, and today I'm very excited to welcome Darren Mudd of Ilkeston Web Design. Hi, Darren.
Hi, thanks for having me, Sally.
So, talk to us about how did you get started in web design?
Well, it was around 2013, and I'd been made redundant from my job. And I got a graphic design degree, and I never really did anything with it. And I thought, well, web design can't be that different. I'll do that. And I knew nothing about website design, but I learned on the job as you do. And that's
how did you end up in graphic design in the first place?
A student at university, and that was also because I didn't know what to do. Because
so it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
What year was that? Was it digital? Was it technological? Or was it still paper and pen?
Well, we're going back to 2003, so...
Computers were in existence.
They were, yeah. Not anything like what we have now.
No.
And it was all about like the classic principles of design and the conceptual thing, the whole,
Okay, so quite arty.
Yeah, I'd say so. But it had ties to, like classic advertising from like, like the Madison Avenue era of ads.
And then you qualified as a graphic designer, but then you went and got a job in...
doing other stuff. I worked for the Evening Post for a little while, setting classified ads.
Which lots of graphic designers do end up doing, like desktop publishing style.
It was we used InDesign.
Layouts and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really like that. And I ended up working in printing and stuff like that. And I'm kind of glad that I was made redundant because I ended up doing something that I wanted. I had this itch that I wanted to scratch.
For being self-employed?
Yeah.
Where did that come from, do you think? Did it come from a family of self-employed people?
Not particularly.
Okay, you just wanted to be independent?
Yeah.
That was it?
I'm like a cat, Okay. I like to sit up high on the shelf and be left alone and do my own thing.
Do your own thing.
But when I was a kid, I saw... There was this other kid on my street selling toys outside his house.
Ooh.
And I thought, I could do that. He was 13 years old and I was about 11. And like back then, that means something. Like he was like the elder statesman of the estate kind of, because he was a sensible lad. He wasn't an idiot. And I thought, what he's doing is quite good. So when I moved house to my new neighborhood, I started selling toys outside my house and doing like a bit of rudimentary graphic design sales stuff. So I think it started because I was able to save up enough money to buy some computer games that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased that I'd saved up this money.
So you got the initiative to do this bit of independent work, earn some money. So it was always there then, this entrepreneurial spirit, obviously. So you got made redundant from the boring corporate job and thought, this is my opportunity. And you started up doing web design, even though you didn't know anything about web design.
Didn't know what I was doing. It's not just that. I mean, it's the business of being in business as well. I mean, that's the hard bit.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because it's not just the doing of the specialty, is it? Like you just said.
Yeah.
So whatever you knew about web design is fine, but you knew nothing about running your own business. And everybody I interview says the same.
Oh, I bet they do. Yeah.
It's a culture shock, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And you learn fast. So you were learning web design and how to run a business all at the same time.
Yeah, and I was under the tutelage of a business advisor, which was part of the job centre. It was an organisation called A4E. Some people may remember that. I mean, it's been disbanded now. But
long time. But they were charged with getting a lot of people back to work.
Yeah, the problem is that when people lose their jobs, or win their freedom, however you want to look at it, when they end up unemployed, they often sort of maneuver themselves into dubious self-employment because they don't know what else to do, and it's a way of keeping the job centre off their back.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of people who were like that. They said they wanted to start a business, but they really weren't, the heart wasn't in it. Whereas with myself, I mean, I really was like a crackling with energy and ideas.
I think that desire that you said sometimes to be left alone to do your own thing, or that independence, I think everybody's got that in them, haven't they? There's something about the human spirit that we do those two things. We want both, don't we? Sometimes we want to be left alone and be independent, and other times we just want somebody else to take responsibility and tell us what to do. So it can be easy to think, I'd really like my own business, and you do not realise how hard it is. For example, getting customers, getting clients is your number one priority, isn't it?
I was cold calling. I was calling people up.
You're on it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know how to sell, so I ended up doing what everybody else does, sell at a discount just to get the work.
It doesn't matter, though, to start off with, does it?
Well,
it would be nice to do it the perfect way.
Yeah, but I suppose,
at least you got going and you've got some clients and you've got some business and you got to learn.
Well, if you want to learn to do it well, you've got to start off doing it badly. There's no two ways about it.
I love that. That's such a good quote.
I was calling people up on the phone, and I had a spreadsheet. I was logging, like, you know, where I saw their
excellent
their name, their number, the market that they're in, and then when I'd have a conversation with them, I'd keep notes of what we actually talked about, so I could recall what they were saying to me.
It's going to work, though, isn't it? If you make enough calls, you will get a positive response
eventually. Yeah, but you've got to kiss a lot of frogs. Yeah, but that's the way it is. A lot of people hate cold calling, and they hate receiving cold calls.
Yeah.
But what I've realised is it's not that people don't like being sold to, it's usually that they don't want to be sold at by someone who is just trying to make the sale at all costs. So you've got to be willing to say, oh, well, it sounds like everything's perfect for you. You probably don't need what I'm offering.
Yeah.
And that's actually a successful...
And move on to the next number or the next person.
A successful sales call doesn't have to end in a sale. It could just be that you say, should we just knock it on the head then?
Yeah.
And funnily enough, some of those people came back about a year later.
Wonderful.
Because they remembered that I wasn't the sleazy guy who was trying to sell at all costs.
Yep.
So never be afraid to say no to the prospect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then at least you know then, don't you? You're not wasting your time. You can then say, right, they don't need my services. I can move on to this next name, which might really need what I've got to offer. We get so attached to the outcome, we forget to do the process, which is, like you've said, sometimes you've got to check that this client is going to be compatible with what you've got to offer. And if they're not interested, that's okay. They get to choose, don't they? And you can move on to your next number or your next prospect.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I've written down something called salesman's rights, and the number one thing is to give prospects the chance to say yes or no. And then it's to uncover the prospect's real problem and real needs, to say no to prospects, to ask questions and so on. But I do think it's a good idea to get the no. In fact, go for no. If any small businesses are listening to this and you take calls, inbound perhaps, or even outbound cold calling, go for no from the beginning, because if you get into a conversation that drags out over days and weeks, and then something comes up, there's a decision maker or a blocker or a no-go for some reason that never came up, you've just wasted weeks with a prospect when you should have gotten to the truth right at the beginning.
This is quite radical, though, Darren, isn't it? As an approach, this boils down to your self-confidence and your accurate assessment of your worth and understanding the worth of what you do to be able to actually confidently go for a no. That takes a while, doesn't it, to build?
Well, it's because, I mean, like you were saying, if you're an owner-manager, think about how more invested you are in your own future. And it's like a nightclub doorman. You don't just let anybody in because they might be troublemakers and they might start a fight. And then it brings the reputation of the establishment down.
Absolutely, yeah. So you look at your business like that.
In the early days, I did have some time wasters. I did let the wrong people in.
Yep.
They left me some very nice Google reviews, but it was always about price because I wasn't charging enough. I could tell that they were judging. Very nice guy, does everything he could to help. Very reasonable. And that haunts me still today because I get people calling me up who've seen these reviews. They think that I will sell them a website for 500 quid.
You're not that.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So let's talk about that kind of journey then, because you started there, because that's normal. That's absolutely normal behaviour. But somewhere along the line, things changed. So was there a turning point, or was this kind of a gradual evolution as you learned the hard way through your mistakes, or was it inputs from lots of places and then gradually you understand that actually your price point is important, that you can charge more for the service that you're offering, and then you can attract a different client because it is only you, so you can only make your money out of however many websites you can produce. You need to be able to charge enough to make a good living out of that, because profit's not a dirty word. So was this an evolution, or can you remember kind of significant turning points where you went, oh, okay, I get it now?
Yeah, I think all of that really. I mean, there's certain books that I've read, certain attitude adjustments that I've had where I've realised that I need to learn how to sell correctly and better. And there's a guy by the name of Marcus Kalki who's an excellent salesperson, and he has a podcast called The Inquisitor. So I started listening to that, and that really changed my attitude. Like you said, I'm trading my time for money, so I can only put so many people into the business at any one time. It's not like I've got 10 clients. I've got probably 2 or 3 max at any one time, because I put so much time into each one. I don't have the bandwidth.
No.
And I want to get good results with each one. So I've got to charge so that I can cover my costs, that I can make a profit, that I can reinvest that profit into delivering a better service. So yes, it's been an evolution, but there's also been a few moments where like the penny has dropped and I've thought, I've got to charge more. I can't be running around after people who buy on price.
No.
Because a lot of these people, I should add, don't understand web design, and that's fine. Why should they? They're the prospects.
Yes.
But when you've got a bunch of competitors in the marketplace that all look the same and they're not really differentiating, they're not positioning, they're not doing adequate marketing, it's like having 3 vending machines in the lobby all selling the same thing, and the only one that's going to succeed is the one that drops their prices. Yes, they make sales, but that vending machine can't make a profit. Therefore, that vending machine will go out of business. And then there's only 2. And it's not what you sell, it's how you sell. So you've got to position, you've got to market, you've got to offer a different experience.
And we've talked about this on the show before, because it's horses for courses, isn't it? So there are businesses that would just want a very basic, easy to produce website, so they can go to those places that offer that, which would be budget conscious, would be something quite simple, but that's not what you're offering, because originally one page was quite exciting. Back in the olden days, having a one-page website was all that you needed, and nowadays we're knee-deep in e-commerce and sales funnels and all sorts of complicated stuff, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I'd always say, what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
That's a great question.
Are you sure you're trying to, the problem that you think you have, is it actually the problem? Some people will go, right, I'm setting up a business, I need branding, I need web presence. And I think, whoa, slow down. You know, what are you trying to achieve? Because a website isn't a panacea. But what problem are you trying to solve? And what do you need this website to do? And it's good to have a good think about that. I've had people come to me who have an idea for a business and they don't even know who the market is, yet they think the website is what they need, which is a bit like putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
They've got to sort of take a step back and say, who is this for? What do we want to sell it for? Why should they care? How do we position ourselves? How do we market ourselves? I mean, in some cases, the website could be the last thing. It's one piece of the puzzle.
It's an easy trip hazard though, isn't it? When you do start your business, you're all enthusiastic, and I've had this conversation with lots of people, or I've been there when somebody else has had that conversation. It's like, well, who's your target market? And they will very enthusiastically say, anybody can use this thing.
I love that.
And we've all done it, haven't we? It's literally a trip hazard. And same with logos and business cards and websites and all of that stuff. And it's easy for us to sit here, seasoned business owners, because now we know a different answer, don't we? But I think one of the hardest things a business owner does is hone down their target market.
And that's hard to do. And it's something that you might change over time. I mean, it doesn't have to be set in stone. You could, reconsider.
Yep. Or you could have several sort of avatars, couldn't you, of ideal customers?
I'll give you a good example of that, actually. So let's say that there's a tradesperson who, I don't know, they build walls, right? And they're in the business of bricks. They could be doing domestic work and they could be doing commercial work.
Yep.
But the domestic and the commercial were 2 different avatars.
Yep.
In fact, you could, if you wanted, have 2 separate websites, because then the messaging on the domestic one is consistent, because the way you talk to people in their own homes is very different to the building building site, right? So you're separating the two. Effectively, you've got two different funnels for different
advertising. And this, of course, is perfect for your sales process and your follow-up.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because if you can systemize it, because at the end of the day, sales is what it's all leading to. Nothing happens until someone sells something.
Yeah.
The only show dedicated to Erewash's local businesses.
The Erewash Sound Business Show with the 100 Club Business Directory. Sign up for networking, promotion and discounts for your business at erewashsound.com.
The Erewash Sound Business Show.
And with the Erewash Business News, I'm Sarah Buck. The East Midlands Chamber Chief Executive has reacted warmly to recent news that Derby train maker Alstom has secured a £370 million order for 10 new Aventra trains for Transport for London's Elizabeth line. Scott Knowles described the Litchurch Lane site as a decades-long powerhouse of UK train manufacture and a key driver of the city and country's economy, considering the wider supply chain, and said that after prolonged uncertainty for the factory, with trains being built at the site itself, the multi-million pound order was welcomed. In other news, the D2N2 Local Enterprise Partnership staff team has joined the East Midlands Combined County Authority. D2N2 was established in 2010 alongside 30 other similar organisations across the country with the purpose of driving local economic development in the region. As part of the devolution deal agreed with government that established the East Midlands Combined County Authority, the board has agreed that its staff team and functions would be incorporated into the authority to deliver a unified approach to tackling the region's challenges. The move means that all 20 LEP staff will now be supporting the work to improve the lives of everyone living and working in Derby, Derbyshire, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire through delivering improvements in transport, housing, skills and adult education and net zero. And finally, a spokesperson for the East Midlands Chamber has said that hospitality and retail across the East Midlands are likely to benefit financially from UEFA Euro 2024. Head of Special Projects Richard Blackmore said that it's not just the pubs and bars that will see more cash in the till. With busier streets, shops should see a lift in takings too. And the feel-good factor behind backing the national team brings people together via merchandise and team shirts, all helping to swell the economy. Join me for more business news on the show next week.
We now return to the second part of our interview, where Sally is in conversation with Darren Mudd from Ilkeston Web Design.
I don't know who said it, like 99% of business is sales. And I know people are a little bit, icky about sales. Oh, I don't sell. Oh, no. But really, whether you like it or not, that is what is happening.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily why you start up in business, is it? In a backwards way, you start up in business to make yourself an income, but usually there's some altruistic motivation or passion behind it. So you think, well, I want to do this XYZ thing, build walls, for example. I love building walls. This is my thing. I want to help the world by building walls.
I love bricks.
But fundamentally, of course, you need to get paid for it. And it's hard sometimes to separate the two or combine the two successfully. But it is important. Like you said, you can't have a business unless you make sales.
I heard a story. There was a lady who wanted to do quality graphic design at an affordable price, and she quickly discovered it wasn't possible to do that.
Yeah.
She went out of business because she was trying to do this
conflict there.
No, what's that thing that we have? I think it's quality, service and price. You can only have two of them. So if you want it at a low price, you're not going to get quality.
You're going to compromise somewhere, aren't you?
You've got, some people are convinced that they can do all three.
Yeah.
And they can't.
No.
I've got a client who keeps dropping his prices because he's convinced that in his industry everyone buys on price.
Yeah.
He's actually projecting his own ideas about price onto other people, and effectively he's spending their money for them.
Then you can have and you can promote good service for the price.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because it's all relative, isn't it? So there could be two companies that are budget companies, and one might provide a much better service for that price simply by being conscientious and diligent, and the other company might not. But it will be relative, won't it?
Yeah. Well, whatever you do, whatever you're trying to achieve, you've got to market yourself. You've got to communicate. Marketing is communicating value to a target customer for a profit. But it's all about communication.
That's fundamental.
So, like I said before, if you don't communicate, then people will have no choice but to judge you on price because they can't see the difference between you and such and such down the road.
So we've gone off your story a little bit. This evolution that you went through, you had quite an opportunity come along with COVID in a way, didn't you? Because you started your business in 2013. Not knowing anything about anything. And then you actually went and got a job during COVID, didn't you? So then you had this opportunity to reinvent yourself. Do you want to just talk us through how that happened? Because I think this is a really interesting part of your business story and your evolution.
Well, I got tired of building websites. I got tired of, doing it all by myself. An opportunity came up to work for a software company. So I took it, started off as a copywriter and then became a website manager. And
did you keep any of the business going, or did you? Yeah. So it was like, so your business became like your side gig then.
Yeah, it was ticking over.
So you just kept it ticking over, and you did this job.
Yeah.
Learned some more stuff in that time.
I did learn, and I unlearned some stuff as well.
It's as important as learning stuff.
Yeah, learning and unlearning. Yeah.
So you took the job in an environment where you were finding things that you could learn from, whether it was the right thing to do, things that really impressed you and inspired you, or actually things where you thought, this is a bit lackluster and I'm learning lessons from this. But you didn't stay in the job, did you, in the end?
Yeah, the marketing team was laid off, which is typical because marketing is usually the last thing to be taken seriously, but the first thing to be cut in hard times, which is, well, I think it's business suicide, really. I mean, that usually marks the beginning of the end.
Well, I think in context, I guess, and if anybody listened to my interview that was aired before with Liz Handley, who's a graphic designer, it's important that you have vehicles and disciplines to track the return on your investment. If you're spending money on marketing, whether it's a website or any other form, you need to track your return on that investment. And it's often something that businesses don't track effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, there is analytics software like Google Analytics, Google Search Console. All you need is a Google account. If you've got a Gmail address, you've got a Google account, and that gives you access to a whole suite of tools which you can integrate with your website.
And Google even does courses to show you how to use that stuff.
Yeah, they do. There's loads of stuff on YouTube that you can watch. Yeah. I would say at the very least, get Google Search Console installed. That's something that I do for my clients. Whether they ask for it or not, I just do it.
Put it there.
Because it monitors the health of the website, like any missing pages, anything that couldn't be crawled.
Let's just have a little chat about health of websites then.
Yeah.
It's not a set it and forget it.
It's like an oil painting that never really dries. You can always change the brushstrokes somewhat. You can change the picture that you see. It's not something that you set and forget, absolutely. It's not print. You don't print a run of 5,000 and then go, oh, there's a spelling mistake, too late. With a website, you can change that whenever you want, obviously, and you should.
And update your images and things like that. Yeah,
keep it loading quickly as well. Make sure it's a good user experience. Look out for bugs and errors, glitches, that kind of thing. Make sure that people...
Accessibility.
That's a good one. So what is accessibility? Well, let's put it like this. If I go into the middle of Ilkeston and I want to go into one of the council buildings to pay a bill, there's a ramp that leads up to the entrance. That's for wheelchair users because not everybody is able-bodied. So that's an example of accessibility in the physical world. So if you neglect those parts of your website because they might be listening to the website rather than...
text reader.
Yes, exactly. Or people that are visually impaired.
Yeah.
During COVID, I lost a pair of my glasses and I was struggling. When I take my glasses off, I might as well be, partially blind. I was trying to design stuff and I couldn't see what I was doing on the computer. So the ability to make the text bigger, to be able to use a screen reader.
Yeah. Descriptions on photos and things like that.
That's called alt text, alternative text, because in some cases people need a description. So it could be photo of a black cat sitting on a mat because they can't see the actual photo. So they need an adequate description. So alt means alternative. So accessibility is something you need to consider. If anyone is interested in learning more about this, there's a book called Don't Make Me Think. The author is Steve Krug. Krug is spelled Krug. Don't Make Me Think. That's considered one of the best books on the subject, and it's quite humorous. It's easy to understand.
So you could then realise what it's like for other people sometimes accessing what you think looks really good and easy to read.
A lot of web designers are obsessed with what it looks like. They're obsessed with appearances, but substance obviously gets thrown out the window. Yeah. There's no substance in terms of messaging. There's no substance in terms of user experience, user interface. I'll give you a good example of user interface, by the way. I tried to walk into a shop recently and I didn't know whether to push or pull the door. So I tried to push it. It didn't work.
This is relatable.
Tried to pull it, didn't open. And I realised that door wasn't the one for going through. It was the other one. But it wasn't labelled. So it had poor user interface and it embarrassed me. Yeah. So that gave me a poor user experience. So that kind of thing can apply to your website. I mean, are you just annoying the hell out of people? Because the contact form's broken. Yeah. They click submit and it says error. Eliminate the friction.
That's any goal in business development or marketing.
I'll say this though, sometimes, and this is a bit different in sales, sometimes you might want people to jump through a few hoops just to filter them out because of the wrong type of person.
Well, that's a qualifying process.
That's a qualifying process, yes. So the website needs to be easy to use. If you do apply friction, make sure you apply it as part of the qualifying process, not because the website won't load. So, yeah.
Okay, so you found yourself get back to the story. You found yourself getting made redundant for the second time.
Yeah.
So how long had you been in the job at that point? A year? 18 months?
18 months.
So you took this as a sign from the universe to go back to your business, newly armed with all sorts of, crackling with more energy, I should think, to use your own phrase.
I took 3 months off just to get to know myself again because I felt like I've been corporatized a little bit too much.
So what's your sort of hopes and visions for the future then? Because we're kind of 3 years now from COVID and we're probably about roughly when you got made redundant. 3 years of your reinvention. Plans and hopes and dreams for the future?
My vision is to expand the channels that I use to find my own clients and encourage people to do the same. To think outside of the digital channels. I hope to be having a thriving business that isn't necessarily dependent on whether or not someone found me in Google.
Yeah.
Because I can't rely on Google.
No.
They could de-index my website for any reason.
Yeah. Excellent. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the listeners about Ilkeston web design or web design in general? Where can people find you if they want to take a look at your work?
They can go to ilkestonwebdesign.com and they can take a look at the testimonials, they can take a look at the examples, they can watch some of the useful videos that I've put together which go over some of these concepts. So that will give them a good idea of what they're getting into when they commission a website. I mean, there's plenty of web designers out there. You don't have to work with me, but it's a good idea if you arm yourself with knowledge. And I'll tell you, here's a quick one. The passwords. Ah, yes. Who controls the passwords? Where are they kept? Where are they stored?
Yeah.
Will they get lost? Is there a document for all that stuff?
And is there a backup?
Yes, backup. Use something like Google Drive that you all have access to.
Is it your images, their images, that stuff?
If the web designer dies in a car accident, where does that leave you as the client?
100%.
Because if you build your business around someone else and you're relying upon them, you're over leveraged on someone else. So you want to make sure that they're replaceable.
Darren, you have other talents than web design, don't you?
Well, if you say so, yeah.
I understand from you do a bit of slam poetry. Do you do this at the weekends then? Or just as a hobby?
Just as a hobby,
Private
really.
hobby.
Yeah.
And here you are recording in the Erewash Sound studio.
Yeah.
Right, hit us with your slam poetry.
Okay, I call this, What Do They Need? You might have or want a website, but if it's trite, you'll never be in the business fight. I don't want to make light of the fact most are crap. Don't want to be talking left while walking right. Let's have a plan to attract, engage, sell and retain over and over again. Always solving problems, always fixing pain, without the typical written drivel. You know what I'm on about. The classic sort of incoherent, chest-beating, corporate-sounding, abstract word salad claptrap that has no value to add. As you can tell, I like to rhyme and rap. You might think I'm an idiot, but look, lighten up. Yes, Business is serious, but people are wary with this, and people like to laugh. Okay, relax. What I'm saying is, drop the big business act and just ask, what does the customer want and need? You build the mousetrap to get decent leads, but don't be so stingy with the content, please. That's the cheese. Use words to heed, words that feed the machine, words to help, words that sell. Lean in, listen, reflect, repeat back, and be heard. Communicate, disseminate, persuade, build trust, but don't just take. Prove your worth and educate. Strategically, fearlessly, for there are opportunities in all industries, yet rivals are often only about survival, so get busy thriving or dying on vines with the passage of time, like all the has-beens we've seen get dealt the death blow before because they chose to snore rather than roar. And screw the price war. No one profits as the cheapest, aka weakest, trying to stick out meekly instead of standing up uniquely. So give quality, take pride, don't hide, step out from behind. Keep the key questions always in mind. For whom and for what purpose do you have or want this website? Find reasons why, then kindly design for digital versions of real life online. First, by identifying how audiences love or hate to browse and use, research and choose, buy and behave, say, think, share, recommend and review, with the ultimate goal of driving your business revenue, because if you don't know where anyone is going, any old website will do. By the way, although it's important to have search engine success, think beyond being top of Google, since their future direction is anyone's guess. Right now it's a bit of a mess, but AI generative results threaten to upset the classic SEO top of funnel mindset. You'll do best wearing your holistic marketing head instead of being over leveraged on this predictably unpredictable algorithmic roulette. Yes. So if you want to talk and say hello, I'll gladly chat to you for 15 minutes and talk about stuff I know. I'll give you the business website how if you describe your ideal who and why. Gotta run. So until next time, bye.
Incredible. Thanks, Darren. I think we could have scrapped the interview. We could have just done the poetry. Thank you very much, Darren. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very much for having me.